Alright, welcome back to Giving Chances Farm. Today we're out here extracting honey. We already got started. We did one round through the extractor of 20 frames to show a guy that we have been helping out with beekeeping for the last little over a year now. So we actually walked him through the process because this will be the first time they'll have honey to extract. So he wanted to kind of see the process before they do it themselves. So all we're extracting today is frames that are completely capped. If both sides of the frame are not capped completely, then we're not extracting them. So
I'll bring one out then.
yep. So for those of you that have seen our previous videos, we basically just use this knife. It kind of looks like similar to like a bread knife, but and then you just carve, use the top and the bottom wood bar as a guide, cut right down through there, and all the wax caps stay in this capping tank. So then we'll turn it around, get the other side. Not sure, I'm on the wrong side for the camera, but I'll come around to the other side on the next one.
While he's doing that, this is what we was talking about. So see, this frame, this is all capped to about here, and then this section right here is all open. And then if you flipped it over, there's only like a handful of cells that have been capped, but the rest of it is not capped. So what we've been doing is we'll just put these back in the boxes. Normally we take the box when we're done extracting and put it out in the bee yard for them to rob out whatever is left of the honey inside, and they can take it back to their own original hive. Basically, we're setting them up to where they're naturally foraging, but it's in a hive. So they'll have all of that, and then all of the honey that's not capped. And so far we've had a few per box.
We've done we went through 3 boxes with 9 frames in each box in order to get 20 that were fully capped. And for this year, or for today, I've got 42 boxes to go through total. Some will have them all full and some of them won't. So okay, so I'll step around to this side. That way the camera can kind of pick it up a little bit better this go around. But basically I just start at the top. Just use the sawing method and carve that down. And then what the knife doesn't get, I use the rake and go back and just lightly open them up. I don't want to really dig at it, I just want to kind of scratch the cap off is all I'm doing. So once you get that part of it, we spin it. And then we get the other side. In the future, we would like to get a, didn't notice that was happening. Bottom bar is split and it was just the right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep. In the future, we would like to get a wax spinner. So basically, after we're done with this part of it, we could take all the wax out of the capping tank, put it into a spinner, and it would spin the rest of the honey out of the wax so we could recapture more of it, because this actually, it sits on this little grate and drains down into the bottom tank. So you still save some of it, but we would still recapture even more of the honey if we did that. The other thing we can do is take these wax cappings outside and let the bees clean them up also. These two?
Yep.
Okay.
Because this one is, it's just this corner. It's not capped on that side. So I mean, this one we may be able to get by.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing by only doing the capped ones is we don't currently have a refractometer to be able to tell the moisture content of the honey, and you want it between the 15 and 18%, preferably in that 16% range, for us at least. The higher the moisture content, it can allow the honey to crystallize a little bit faster also, so, and it just has a higher moisture content to begin with. So some guys will use like a dehydrator or a dehumidifier, I'm sorry, not a dehydrator, but dehumidifier in the area that they have the boxes before they go to extract them. We don't have that option right now, so we're just getting started out. This is our third time extracting honey, so as far as year wise, the end of May, or first part of May, ended our second full year basically of beekeeping. So because we started May 4th of 2019, so. And we also, if you heard me say that we have 9 frames in our super, so basically we use a 10 frame box. We put metal spacers on the frame rails that allow it to only hold 9 frames in the box. With doing that, that allows them to build the wax out farther, so it makes it easier to cut this off. Because if it's not built out past the wood, then you pretty much have to use that rake. And then we just load our extractor.
I'll leave that one up to you. Like I said, it's just that little corner on that side.
Okay. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and do it, because we'll be okay. If you notice me shaking it, there's about 10 cells on this one corner that wasn't capped, but I shook it with that side down and nothing fell out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and be okay. I mean, it's 10 little bitty cells on this frame. It's not that big of a deal. For the moisture content, it's not gonna throw it off that bad.
Compared to the whole
Compared to-
side.
Yeah, so see there, well, there might be about 12 cells, but still. And I'm cutting most of it off anyway. Because if you notice, there's actually a gap there where most of that cut off anyway, so I'm okay with that. So, let me just scratch those few. Let you double check it real quick. That's like good. Okay. Alright. Now, in the future, we plan on swapping some of our equipment out because in our growth, we purchased some hives at the end of our first year. We actually purchased 13 hives off of another gentleman, and he had a little bit of medium supers, a little bit of shallow supers, versus all of our stuff only had mediums, which if all of your equipment is standard like that, it makes things a lot easier. Everything's interchangeable. And it also makes it easier loading the extractor to try to balance the extractor out if everything is the same size. Because like right now, if we do a couple boxes of mediums, and then we get a box of shallows come into the mix, we got to kind of stagger the frames in there to keep everything balanced so that the extractor is not dancing across the floor. Ours is not bolted down, so we just make sure that it's just a little bit right across the top one. So it's not very, I don't look at the work that we do with the bees as being extremely difficult work, as much as it can be time consuming. It does take time to do this way. There are other methods that others have that go a little faster. The commercial guys, when they get big enough, they can even have like a assembly line kind of deal setups, but we're not to that point yet. Maybe one day, I don't know. We don't know what the future holds. I do enjoy beekeeping. I enjoy talking to others about it.
On most days.
Yeah, on most days. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, sometimes you have a day that
when you have them problem childs.
Yeah, you can have trouble, and it gets frustrating sometimes because, like we look at our bees the same as we do any of our other livestock here on the property. That we try to give them the best chance that we can with the knowledge that we have, and try to continue to learn more about them as much as we can so that we can do better every time that we're out there with them. Some things that work this year may not work next year. Some things that didn't work this year might work next year. You never know. So you have to learn to adapt and overcome all the time. But, across the top there. But we do try to share what we do with these videos. Not so much that, because naturally I don't think that we're pros at anything.
I don't think anyone is, really.
We're just really trying to show you how we do things to give you an option that it might work for you. But it also might not. You have to see what works for your particular situation, especially when it comes to beekeeping, because beekeeping is so different. Like, honestly, just a difference between our bees here on our property and the property of the guy that just left here. And he only lives just a couple of miles from us. But the difference in what they have available for forage at each of the locations makes a difference in something just that small.
Well, and the number of hives you have
Right.
on your property too could.
But like initially, they only wanted one hive, and we talked them into getting a second one this year. That way they had something to compare to, and he can tell you, or he told us today, that he's glad they made that decision, because having something to compare to made a world of difference. Because last year, only having that one hive, they didn't think it was in as bad a shape as it actually was. And there was some things that were fixable, and other parts of it that they kind of had a bad go at it from the get-go, and they ended up purchasing a hive from someone else that told them it was ready to go, and it was actually queenless when we got it home. So so we went through some problem fixing day one, basically. So
You got all of these down here on this side. I need scraped.
oh, sorry. Did I miss it? Yep, sorry. Sorry, I got sweat dripping in my eyes. And that's the other thing too, is it's pretty warm in here, and you want it to be that way way the honey flows pretty good. I know, like our mentors, they actually turn their heat on and get it to about 90 in their facility.
In their honey. Okay.
So
All the ones that are up.
okay, sorry. So we're not quite halfway full yet. We're getting there. But like I said, it's not difficult. I mean, you can see what I'm doing. It isn't very hard to do. It's just take your time and do it, you know, when it comes to this part of it. So
It's like anything, that first initial fear because it's new.
yep. And then, you know, we also get the question sometime, you know, especially since we do the farmer's market, so we actually sell honey at the farmer's market,
That one's clear.
and we'll get some customers that'll come to us and they'll see what we're selling it for, and they'll be like, man, that's expensive. Like, okay, that's your opinion, so and you're entitled to that, but I know what cost I have going into it, and I know what I have to capture to be able to continue to do it. You know, but along that line, it's not any different than, you know, we raise cows and for meat, you know. I'm not saying you can't go to the store and buy $2 hamburger, but is that $2 hamburger the same quality as what's raised right here at the farm and you're buying it from the farmer? You know, the other side of it is you might pay a little bit more buying it that way, but you know where your food come from. You can build a relationship with that farmer and have a lot more invested in it than just going to the grocery store and buying something off the shelf that honestly may or may not be what you think you're buying. Because those are bad things that are happening some places also. I mean, there's been plenty of time, I'm sure people's seen it in the news, where, you know, there'll be a grocery store or something that gets in trouble for selling something else. Like one that I know of was they got busted for selling horse meat as hamburger in the stores. So, I mean, it's a big difference, you know. So, we kind of have a pretty big relationship with all of our animals. You know, our girls show the cows, and then eventually after they're in the show ring, then they become hamburgers. So, you know, you've made a big bond with that animal. So when it's an animal that we butcher for ourselves, we make sure that we give thanks to that animal for nourishing our body and the things that it provides us with, you know. I mean, just the same as, you know, I used to deer hunt before we raised cattle and pigs and chickens, but now that we raise all of that, I don't really go out and do much deer hunting anymore because it's hard for me to justify going out and taking an animal's life just for sport. I don't need that for the purpose of nourishing my body, even though it is a different type of protein, I give it that. But we have food, so I'm okay with not going hunting. Plus, honestly, I just don't really have the time right now because, I mean...
That was the thing, though. We were out there hunting, and nothing would ever show up, and then you're sitting there thinking of all the stuff that you could be getting done.
Just sitting there in that tree stand. But
it was nice going out there,
yeah.
viewing the nature and listening to all the nature sounds. But
I still like taking the kids out there. It's, you know, we don't go up in the tree stand with the girls. We just do a ground blind, but it's still nice going out there. I still keep a trail cam up out there. I enjoy watching the deer, but it seems like more so nowadays they're coming through our property overnight anyway, so that's one thing with the trail cams. I can tell it's time stamped of when they're coming through, and that tells me whether or not it'd be worth being out there hunting anyway, and it's really not, because they're coming through when it's not hunting hours anyway, so they're no dummies. They didn't make it to that stage in their life by being silly, so. There we go.
One, two.
We can tell that some of these are drawn out a little bit farther than others. The ones that are drawn out farther and the knife can get it, it goes a lot quicker than if I have to use that rake. They do make other tools for this. Like they have a hot knife. So it's an electric, and it's similar in shape than the one that I'm using, except for it's just a smooth edge on both sides of the knife, and it has like a heating element in it, and then the cord has a thermostat on it, on some of the ones that I've seen at least. They also have a electric plane, so it's a basically kind of like a wood planer you would drag down through there, and it takes it off there, but never tried one of those. Have seen people that have had success with those. I've also seen people just use a big bread knife. Beekeeping is one of those things that
Whatever you can afford
yeah, I mean, you can do
or willing to spend money-wise.
some things a little bit cheaper than others. I've seen people make their own extractor with a battery drill and some PVC pipe and some 5-gallon buckets. If you don't have very many hives, that's a feasible method. But, you know, when we pass the backyard beekeeper stage, I would call it, to kind of a, I guess they kind of throw us into like a sideliner category. We are nowhere near the commercial size, in my opinion, but we are working towards the knowledge that we've got a business for it, though, so. And evidently, we know a little bit about it, and our mentors trust us enough that, you know, when I sent a friend of ours down there to take their beekeeping classes, and he knew I sent them and knew they lived close to us, he basically told them that they could use us as a mentor and I could answer most of their questions and they wouldn't have to drive down there and answer them. What he didn't realize was they're our mentors, so if he asks me a question that I don't know, I turn around and ask him, he's answering the question for that guy anyway. It's just going through a little different channel. But it may not necessarily be that I don't know the answer.
Just don't.
I'm just probably not confident with it yet and want to verify. I mean, they've got 17 years of experience plus, you know, I don't.
Yes.
So I'm using every bit of that knowledge that I can from them because they're willing to share it. So if you can find somebody in your area that's willing to share information with you for a task that you want to complete, by all means, take them up on that offer because, I mean, you can't beat it, especially if they will give you hands-on experience. So, you know, like today, they've watched our videos in the past, and they still watch our videos, but it still doesn't beat, you know, he come over here and actually put his hands on the frames and carved them with the knife. You know, it's a big difference. So, I mean, it's just the same as, you know, we've lucked out and been very fortunate with our contacts now that we're in the dairy goats with the girls too, that, you know, we have a contact that they're willing to share their knowledge and let us come to their barns and get hands-on experience. So, and that's huge. And it's paid off because we took what they told us, put it to work, and the girls brought home purple banners from the show. You know? But the other thing is like, okay, if you're into showing animals, you're out there chasing that purple banner. But there's only so many people that can win that banner. It's also about the experience and the contacts that you make as well. It's not only about that banner. So we try to make sure the girls understand that. Because some of those contacts they make, whether it be at a livestock show, farmer's market, any of that, anytime they can share their knowledge with somebody else and pass it on, could be the potential of them saving somebody else making the same mistakes that they've made and change the way they do things. When it comes to beekeeping, I was recently approached by a local school teacher and asked me if I'd be willing to come to one of their groups and teach the kids about beekeeping. Naturally, I was a little nervous at first, you know, because I'm still learning this. I don't know that I'm ready to teach anybody yet, I guess, but if I can share some knowledge to some kids that may or may not have the opportunity to do something like this in the future, then I'll give it a shot. So I will be naturally, since our mentors, they actually do teach classes, I will be, you know, talking with them and see their recommendations on, you know, what kind of information for that type of age group should I be sharing, how in depth should I get, all those kind of things that you talk about. I mean, now it's not going to be too much of a big deal for me, because those of you that have watched our videos and are even watching this one, you can understand that I don't have a problem talking. or talking to people due to my job. And I've done a lot of
I don't think it matters because
public education stuff for work. I have my instructor. So, I mean, I got 3 more slots. So, I mean, I've helped teach recruits for the fire service. I've helped teach EMTs in the past. And even when I was on the volunteer department, I would help out with their program when they would bring the preschool kids in. I enjoy sharing what I do with others, especially when you see those others that you can kind of tell, even at the preschool level, you'll still get some of them that they kind of light up the same way that you do when you talk about certain items of your job, and you just kind of, like, I remember when I was younger, like kindergarten time frame, I think it was, is when we went and took a field trip to the local fire station. And I remember even back then thinking how cool that job was, but past that, I never really seen myself doing it. I actually went to college for sports medicine, but then decided that that wasn't what I wanted to do, and started working towards becoming an EMT, and then worked on an ambulance for a while, and then decided, I met a guy that was a fireman, and we started working together on the ambulance, and then the interest was there, and then past that, the opportunity came up to where I had the chance to start testing. And then after a few tests, I finally made it through and made it on the department. It's provided a opportunity for me to do the rest of this stuff. So, very fortunate for that. So, but I try to tell my girls, to seek every opportunity that they can, and don't take things for granted, because tomorrow is never promised. We never know what's happening tomorrow. I mean, you could go to bed tonight and not wake up tomorrow. So I hope that's not the case, but let's see here. Get this last little bit. Okay. So that's about how long it takes to get 20 frames prepped. And I was sharing earlier when I did this, and this little capping tank that we have here is kind of like an entry-level capping tank. The one that we want is stainless steel, bigger, and as you cap it, you can actually hang them on there to start draining, and it'll actually hold 20 frames, which is the same as our extractor. So if I can upgrade to that, while this is actually extracting, I can start decapping some more. Right now, I kind of wait until it's done extracting before I start decapping anymore, because I don't have anywhere to put them once I decap them. So, I'm gonna go wash my hands real quick, and I'll come back and turn that extractor. So the extractor that we use is a Lyson 20 frame extractor. Is the honey gate open?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a radial extractor, so the frames face inward so that you don't have to flip them. It basically extracts both sides at one time as it's spinning. and it has 10 different speed settings on it. So I always bring it up to speed slowly. That way it doesn't get out of balance and start bouncing and walking around.
Well, before you would actually start it, you always want to make sure your honey gate is open, because otherwise, if it's not and it starts bringing the honey down in that bottom, if it gets up to the part where it's above the hole where the honey will flow, then you could end up damaging the motor on your extractor. So key is to have that open.
And if you notice down there on the bucket, there's a bucket strainer. So we use a 400 micron bucket strainer. And actually the one there on the left just finished straining a bucket of honey, so it's got a few of the wax cappings on it. That's kind of what you see get strained out.
This is what we use. You can see the name right there. And it fits directly on a 5-gallon bucket. So, whoa. Oh, he's gonna bring over a frame that was. So, see, it's coming out fairly fast, and sometimes you may have to shut your extractor off when it gets above this to allow the bucket filter to filter it down into the bottom of the bucket, or otherwise you'll overflow. So we may have to end up shutting that off because we're getting up close. So he'll shut that off, and I'll wait till that stops spinning, and then I can shut the valve, or not the valve, but the honey gate on it, and we'll allow that to filter through the thing. But
basically, here's one that's already come out of the extractor. They'll still be just a little bit wet, so there's a little bit of remnants in there, but not much at all. But they're very light now. And then we basically just box them back up, take them outside.
So we'll put them back in these boxes.
We'll create a robbing station out there for them to come in and finish cleaning them up for us before we bring them back into storage. So
that's what that looks like. And if you'll lift that up, it'll continue draining the honey off of the wax.
Yeah.
That way.
And the bottom of this has a honey gate on the end of it also. So we put a bucket underneath that honey gate with a strainer on it also, because the little grate in here, it's big enough that there are some smaller wax pieces that can fall down through there, but that way we can recapture the honey that drips in here. And then, like I said, later on when we get a little more to invest in this, we will try to get the wax spinner to help recapture the honey out of the wax there too. So, but hope you guys enjoyed the videos. Hope it was informative for you. I know this one was a little bit long and I got a little long-winded and went off topic while I was talking, but if you got any questions, put those in the comments down below. If you don't feel comfortable commenting there, all of our social media is in the description of the video, so you can contact us that way as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, hit that notification bell to be notified of any of our upcoming videos, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.